Do you ever open your first draft and immediately feel overwhelmed? Like you know it needs work, it's messy, it could be better, but you have no idea where to even start. So you either read the same scene over and over again and make tiny adjustments that feel like you made no progress whatsoever, or you just get overwhelmed and you're like, you know what, I will deal with this later, and you close the document and maybe you never return. Either way, I feel your pain. Editing a first draft can feel like trying to untangle a giant knot where every time you pull one thread, 5 more become tighter. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be chaotic. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my simple 3-phase editing process that will help you to not get overwhelmed and clean up your first draft effectively, polish it up to the point where you are actually really proud of it, and how to get through this whole process without losing your sanity. Yay! Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Abby, and I help writers make their stories matter and make their author dreams come true. And if that's something you're on a mission to do, you're going to want to subscribe to this channel. I would love to have you here in the community. And real quick, before we get into the video, I want to let you guys know that my new book, Make Your Story Matter, is now available for pre-order. This is not another boring writing manual, I promise. It is an interactive guide to unlocking your brain's natural storytelling instincts and writing books that readers love. It has been my life's work for the past 3 years, and I would be honored if you pre-ordered a copy. You can do that with the link below and unlock some awesome bonuses too. Okay, so let's break down the 3 phases of editing. First phase is the clarity pass. When you open your first draft, that messy first draft, your first instinct may be to try to dive right in and make everything sound beautiful right away. Don't. That is the fastest way to overwhelm yourself. The first thing we want to focus on is clarity. Big picture clarity. In this first stage of editing, you are not trying to make your writing poetic or immersive or profound. Your only question should be, does this make sense? Not just on the scene level, but on the story level. Because first drafts tend to be full of plot holes, filler scenes, repeat information, telling not showing, and character inconsistencies. These are the story level issues that you want to eradicate from your manuscript before you move on to phase 2. Why? Because you don't want to be tweaking the sentence structure of a scene that the whole thing deserves to be cut or rewritten from scratch. That's why this phase of editing is designed to give you clarity on the story level before you start polishing on the sentence level. It's like dusting a house that needs a gut job. You have to do the renovation first, and then you can polish everything. Then you can paint and decorate and dust to your heart's content. So this phase is what most writers call the developmental edit. And sometimes it can feel like you're living inside a renovation zone because you're changing things on the story level. You're changing the plot, the characters, the themes. And this is why I like to print off my story on paper and put it in a binder so I can physically hold it in my hands and read it. That just really helps me to sort of have that 1,000-foot view of my story and give it the editorial assessment that it deserves. So over the years, editing countless manuscripts, I have taught myself to look for certain issues, certain problem areas that always tend to show up in the developmental edit stage. And while it's difficult to look at your own work objectively, there are some good tricks for catching these issues yourself by asking yourself the right questions. So these questions each indicate a problem area. These are the questions I like to ask myself. First, what parts do I read more than once? This indicates confusion or sloppy writing. What moments feel out of character? This indicates character inconsistencies. What scenes do I feel tempted to skip? Indicates slow pacing. When do I catch myself thinking, I already know this? Indicates telling over showing. That's the big one for me. I tend to overwrite. I write more than I need, and editing process for me is mostly like cutting away extra stuff. So a lot of times that's repeat information. The character might be reflecting on a thought process that they already had 1 page ago. Now, while these questions do help me a lot to identify those problem areas in the developmental edit, it is still time consuming and you can still miss stuff. I know I miss things all the time just because I'm too close to see my own writing objectively, which is why I love to use tools to help me at this stage of the editing process. And my favorite tool for this right now is ProWritingAid, who is kindly sponsoring today's video. ProWritingAid is like my Swiss Army knife when it comes to editing. It does so much, but I've used ProWritingAid's manuscript analysis tool on so many stories now, and I can safely say it has saved my life. I'm not even exaggerating. Literally, it's like having a super smart, clever best friend who is willing to read your crappy writing and give you honest, unfiltered, constructive feedback without actually having to go through the embarrassment and awkwardness of sharing your worst writing with an actual human. It's a miracle. I'm telling you, this thing is a miracle. All you have to do is pop your manuscript into ProWritingAid or open up the desktop version in your writing software of choice and run the manuscript analysis. It only takes a few minutes and it can analyze up to 300,000 words at a time. After it analyzes your book, it will give you targeted advice to strengthen your story, breaking it down by priorities so you can address the biggest concerns first and feel good about the parts of your story that are actually working really well. What I used to do is go through my manuscript chapter by chapter and ask myself, is this scene working well? Do the character arcs feel earned? Does the story logic make sense? I could usually identify a lot of those problems on my own, but it was super time consuming. And then when I started using ProWritingAid, I realized just how many of those issues flew under the radar. And by the way, if you want to try ProWritingAid for free, you can use my special link. It's below this video. And if you want to get 20% off any of their premium yearly plans, use the code ABBY20 at the checkout to get that discount. One quick note, manuscript analysis is a separate tool inside of ProWritingAid, so you need story credits to use it, but those credits are discounted if you're on the premium plan. So make sure you use my code if you do end up using it and upgrading. So once I put my story through manuscript analysis to find any of those big story level issues and fix them, I then move on to phase number 2 of editing, and that is the line edit pass. So once my story is free of any inconsistencies or plot holes, I am ready to make my writing sound better at the sentence level. This is where we edit with a fine-tooth comb and start looking for all those places where the prose feels unpolished. Things like repetitive sentence structure, excessive adverbs, too many dialogue tags, or flat descriptions. Mistakes like this aren't necessarily going to ruin the story itself, but it is going to be a negative impact on the reading experience. Now, if you're thinking,
but Abby, I don't need to do this. I'm gonna hire a professional editor and they're going to polish my writing for me. I don't have to think about it.
Yes, you do. Unless you want to make your editor's life more difficult and you want to spend way more money than you need to. I speak from experience when I say that getting good at self-editing really pays off. Over the years, I have self-edited a lot of books. And all throughout that time, I've also worked with a professional editor. But guess what? The better I get at editing my own books, the less time my editor has to spend on each project. True story, I ended up paying half the price of a book that was twice the word count as my debut novel, simply because I got really good at self-editing. So the manual way to line edit your own novel. What I would do is read my own writing out loud, look for repetition, rework sentence structure for more variety, and replace adverbs with stronger verbs. For example, you'll be doing a lot of edits like this. Instead of, she walked very slowly and silently across the room, you might say, she tiptoed across the room. Same meaning, stronger impact. That's essentially what line editing looks like. Taking each sentence one at a time and seeing, how can I make this stronger? How can I replace weak adverbs with stronger verbs? How can I make the action feel more immediate? And again, this manual process works with no tools at all, but it's very time consuming and very tedious. The best way I've found to speed up this process is to use tools like ProWritingAid. It's kind of like having a second brain that spots these issues for you. It makes the task of editing so much easier by highlighting things like repeated words, weak adverbs, cliches, and sentence variety. And instead of staring into space thinking, what word should I replace this with? I know it's a weak word, but I don't know what to put there instead. We've all been there, especially after like 5 hours of editing. Your brain is just fried. I know the feeling. I love how in ProWritingAid, every time you select a word that you don't like, you get a mini pop-up thesaurus where you can easily replace that weak word with something more powerful. It's like having an X-ray for your prose, where you can spot all of those problem areas, all of those things that are broken and need fixing without having to go hunt for each one yourself. And the best part is it doesn't replace your voice. It just helps you to have a starting point to make those choices faster. And finally, we arrive at phase 3 of editing, and that is the polish pass. Only now, after you've done all your developmental and line edits, can you worry about polishing your prose. And this is your slow, careful read through, where you're looking for things like spelling, grammar, consistency, dialogue tags, all the little details that add up. This is where you take your book from a 4-star read to a 5-star read. So I urge you not to skip this step, okay? It's worth it. I swear, even if you're gonna hire a professional editor, you're gonna save them a lot of time, you're gonna save yourself a lot of money if you do this final polish pass. And at this point, you could hand off your manuscript to a trusted beta reader or critique partner to help you to find those little inconsistencies or problem areas that you may have missed. However, I encourage you to do as much polishing as possible. Print off your manuscript if you have to, read it out loud, maybe even perform it a little bit. That can really help to see any problem areas and to see, especially with dialogue, if the dialogue feels realistic and smooth and just rolls off your tongue, you know you did good. And on the flip side, if something feels a little awkward or you read it twice or you fumble and you are confused and you say the wrong thing, maybe that's a sign that you need to polish that spot a little bit more. And if you don't want to go it alone, you want a tool to help you with this final polish pass, of course, ProWritingAid is going to be so helpful here. This is where tools like the grammar report, dialogue report, and consistency report really shine. Because let's face it, after reading your manuscript 3 times, maybe more, your brain can no longer see these little tiny minute mistakes. Please tell me I'm not the only one who has read a paragraph in their story like 50 times. I'm not even kidding. And there is a typo right in the middle of the sentence and you did not see that. I did not see that the first 49 times. How? That's why I don't leave anything to chance now and I use ProWritingAid instead. And the cool thing here is that you can combine multiple reports into one and run them simultaneously, which is a huge time saver. So you don't have to do like one pass for spelling, one pass for grammar. You can combine all of it. So spelling, grammar, dialogue, pacing, consistency. I like to pair all of these together and uncheck the reports I don't want to see so that I can do like that one final polish pass without having to scroll through page after page multiple times. And you can customize what reports you combine. So you can choose whatever reports you want to combine at this stage and run those reports at the same time. And it really streamlines this final pass edit. It makes it so much more efficient and helps you to reach the finish line faster. Another thing you can do at the end here is run the manuscript analysis again to see if there is anything else that ProWritingAid catches that maybe you missed on the story level. And it can be really encouraging actually to do this twice because then you can look back at your first manuscript analysis and see like, wow, I actually changed a lot. I actually improved this story so much. It's so much better now than it was before. And that's what we all want to feel, right? Especially after being in the editing trenches for so long, for maybe months or even a year or more. You want to feel that you made progress and you made your manuscript better than it was before, not just different. And you need a system. If you edit without a system, it's like trying to clean your entire house in one day. And you do a little bit of everything in each room and it ends up being a bigger mess than what you started with. But when you break your editing process down into 3 phases like this, it becomes so much more manageable. And like I said before, this is where tools like ProWritingAid can make your life a whole lot easier. So if you want to try it out for yourself, click the link below this video to start using ProWritingAid for free. Run these reports on your manuscript and see how much you can improve your writing in just a few minutes. And if you decide to upgrade to any of the premium annual plans, make sure you use my code ABBY20 at the checkout to get 20% off your purchase. Comment below and tell me, are you editing your novel right now? Which phase of the editing process are you at? The clarity pass, the line edit pass, or the final polish? I would love to hear about it. So So comment below, join the discussion, smash that like button if you liked this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here in the community. And if you're ready to level up your editing process even more, I recommend checking out this video where I break down the top mistakes that make your descriptions sound flat and boring, and how to glow up your prose and make your writing shine. So that's a great next watch companion to this video. I will see you over there, or I will see you in the next one. Until then, happy editing, and as always, rock on. Shh.